Hi there, Black Devil here, and I'm here to tell you about a book I read, and the title of the book is called L.illy's Secret Inheritance by Kristin Harper. I've never heard of her, nor have I read anything she's written, so come on in, let's go. Hello, book connectors. Welcome back to the Book Connection. I am your host, Blue-Eyed Black Devil. Join me, won't you? Once again, hello, book connectors. Look, you will be seeing book titles, and these are all books that Kristin Harper has written. I just listed them, and I think I may have jumped the broom, or whatever they say, jumped the gun just a little too soon. I know I'm reading or read L.illy's Secret Inheritance, but what I didn't know is that book is a part of a series. So apparently I should have checked the book order before reading, because L.illy's Secret Inheritance is not the first book in this particular series. So I'm already in the middle of reading a series that, 7 Deadly Sins, Victoria Christopher Murray. So I didn't mean to start another series, so I'm just going to get back on track, talk about this book, and then I can go ahead and wrap up Envy. Okay, thanks for understanding. I made a big mistake. I hate reading books out of order. But there again, I don't know who put them up, but they should have put in the book order with the numbers up so you won't jump the gun. Okay. Lily Lindgren Perkins is a 35-year-old widow. Her husband, Dr. Tyler Perkins, a medical doctor, passed away 3 years ago. Together, they had one child, Ryan, who was 5 years old at the time of his father's death. Now, Lily is from Massachusetts, a small town in Massachusetts. But when she graduated high school, she went off to college, and she eventually met and married her husband, and they had made a home in Philadelphia. Well, 3 years ago, her husband Tyler contracts cancer, and they did have a nest egg, but the medicine, the cost of taking care of him, they went through whatever they had built up together. Lily herself was a project manager, but she was more or less a consultant. But she stopped doing that to take full-time care of her husband, and so he passed away. Well, when he died, her house was all that she owned outright, and she had taken several mortgages out, and she was just trying to find, trying to go back to work, trying to get things back to some similar to whatever their life was before her husband got sick. Now, she got along very well with her in-laws. So during summer break, they were supposed to go on vacation with her in-laws, but Lily, gets a phone call from home. She finds out that her Aunt Dahlia and her Uncle Martin have both died. Now, Lily was also an only child. She lost her parents in a fatal car accident when Lily was 5, so she was raised by her maternal grandparents, and they loved and doted on her. They have a cranberry farm, and the farm is pretty successful, but it has ebbs and flows like almost everything that runs. And over the years as Lily was growing up, from 5 to 18, she was there on the farm and she learned how to work a lot of stuff. And a lot of what she learned how to do was not buy. She wasn't required. It's just what she learned how to do along the way. Well, as time goes on, her grandmother calls her in one day and she talks to her, lets her know that she had been diagnosed with cancer and it was terminal. And so she had put out, like, I guess, she posted a job wanted. She was looking for someone to help clean house, prepare meals, and help run the farm as needed. And so she had found this lovely lady and her son. Now the farm had another building. It had 2 bedrooms and like a little sitting room. They called it the shack. Now her grandmother had already lost her daughter to an accident, but she also had a son, Martin. Martin, he had been in love once, but his fiancée and her brother were out boating one time, and then they ended up perishing. So, and Martin, he just kind of fell into a slump. He never really came out of it that much. But he was living out there in the so-called shack. The shack did not have running water, and there was no kitchen there. So you had to come to the main house to, shower, shave, eat, and that's just what it was. Well, her grandmother, I should say, would tell her, I've hired this lady, and she also has a son, and they are going to live in the shack, and Martin is going to come back and live in the main house. The main house had 5 bedrooms, and so the parents had a room, and then Lily had a room, and that left 3 other bedrooms. Martin was not too happy about it, but he did move on back into the house. And he was like, but why can't, there's 3 bedrooms there. He could still have his room and she could have a room. The mother was like, no, she has a son with her. They need their space and we need ours. So he didn't like it, but he did move on back into the main house. They get there, and right off the bat, Lily hits it off with the lady. Her name is Dahlia. Dahlia is drop dead gorgeous. Oh, Lily she just thought she was the best thing since cornbread. That's my favorite, cornbread. But they just did so much together, and Lily she showed a passion or a fondness for photography. Now, Dahlia has a son that's the same age as Lily, but the 2, Lily and Aiden, couldn't be any more polar opposites. Lily was outgoing, fun-loving. She loved being with people. She was okay being by herself. She just was a trouble-free person. She did not like it at first when her grandmother told her that she had hired someone. Lily was like, well, I don't think you need to hire anybody. I can pitch in. I can do more than I'm doing, because Lily basically was just responsible for making sure that her room was clean, and whatever one chore she had to do on the farm, that's all that it was. But Liz was like, no, I can do more. I have time. And the grandmother was like, no, the only job you really should be focused on is your schoolwork. And she was like, but my grades are great, and blah, blah, blah. And she said, you show an interest in photography, and I want you to nurture that and just see where it takes you. I don't want you to just turn into like a regular working person before your time. And so she didn't like it, but she obeyed her grandmother. And eventually, one day, she came home from school. She was all right, all the way, But as she was going up the long driveway into the house, this dread just comes over her out of nowhere. And so time she comes in the house, she calls out for grandmother, but grandmother, didn't answer. And L.ily came and she told her that she, had passed away. And she's like, I didn't get a chance to tell her I love her. And she said, well, she knew you loved her, just like she knows you loved her. She loves you. I know it hurts, all of that. And she just consoled Lily. They ended up sleeping outside that night because Lily just couldn't bring herself. She was just too weak to get up and go indoors. And Lily wouldn't let her sleep outside by herself. So she stayed out there. But that next day, she got up and she went in the house. Now, at this time, Aiden would not do anything on the farm. If you asked him to do something, he would grumble to himself or just flat out wouldn't do it, period. And just not even bother to tell you he's not going to do it. And there was nothing anybody could say to make him. Nobody could understand why he was the way he was. And his mother, Dahlia, it was as if he just despised his mother too. But Dahlia would go out of her way to try to make up why. She kept looking for reasons to explain why Aiden was so cold towards her and everybody else. And then he starts to date this girl named Olivia. And they had, they just hung out with people who like to just get drunk or drink. I don't know if they got drunk, but they would drink all day, skip school and stuff, but they would drink and stuff. And Lily had come home several times where she would overhear Aiden asking Dahlia for money. And if Dahlia ever said no, then he would just pitch a fit storm off. Well, that didn't make Martin too happy, but he knew that was a mother and son. And he did express to Dahlia his disapproval of the way Aiden talked to her and did and stuff. And, but he also knew that he had to give her grace to try to deal with it. He just felt like she caved in and whatever he asked for, she would do everything in his power. So finally, Martin had said, no more money. I don't care what he asked for. He's not getting it. Let him go out and get a job, or he could stay here on the farm and earn his way. But he just didn't ever want to do that. So that went off and on for a while. There was a photo contest at the school one year. And the guy who came and was telling the students about the contest, I think at this time Lily was in the 11th grade, her junior year of high school. And I guess some kids' names had been turned in from the school who seemed to show real promise for photography. Lily was the main one. And the contest was going to start right around her birthday. She came home from school a couple of weeks before her birthday, and Dahlia gave her her present. And she was like, well, thank you, Dahlia, but my birthday is still 2 weeks away. And Dahlia said, yeah, I know, but you need to open it. She said, why are you insisting that I open it now? She said, oh, you will understand. You need to open it. So reluctantly, Lily opened it, and it was a brand new, expensive camera. And she was like, but Dahlia, how can you afford this? And she said, don't you worry about it. I bought it because I want you to enter the contest. And she said, but I pulled some strings, so you're good. Well, the man who came to the school to tell the students about the contest, he was same age as Dahlia. So Dahlia is like in her mid-30s. So that man was somewhere around that age. Kyle was his name. But Lily thought that she had a secret crush on the man. Her best friend Katie and Dahlia used to tease Lily about having a crush on Kyle, and she would always deny it. She would always deny it. But one of the reasons they felt she had a crush on him is because every day Lily and Katie would be in and out of each other's houses, but sometimes when they would come to Lily's house, Dahlia would join in and they would just laugh and talk. Now, as gorgeous as Dahlia was, she flat out refused to let people take pictures of her. I think throughout the whole book, she permitted Lily to take one picture of her, and Lily just couldn't understand it. She was gorgeous, even in her mid-30s, early 40s. Lily felt that Dahlia would have been able to walk in any modeling agency and still snag a worthwhile contract. Dahlia didn't really talk much about her past. And so Lily just left it alone. But yeah, they would just tease her about Cal says, Cal. And Lily kept denying it. Well, they go on about life. At some point in time, Lily begins to get suspicious of, I almost jumped the gun. Somewhere along the way, Dahlia and Martin were married. Okay, so then at some point in time, by the time Kyle comes into the picture, now he was only there to talk about the contest, so he just left all the forms and stuff, and whoever wanted to enter the contest, they would do it, and then the school would submit it back to the agency. So at some point in time, Lily began to be suspicious. She began to suspect that Dahlia and Kyle had some sort of relationship going on. And when she finally confronted Dahlia said, no, there's never been anything between myself and Kyle. Lily, just get that out of your pretty little head. There's nothing going on between me and Kyle. And she was like, all right. But she never really put it out of her mind altogether. So after grandmother dies, a little while later, grandfather dies. So now the whole kit and caboodle, the farm and the equipment and the contents within the shack and the house, all of this is now Martin and Dahlia. And then it would be left to Lily when they pass away. But because Lily and Dahlia were so close, when Lily suspected there was something going on between Kyle and Dahlia just kept saying, no, it's nothing. Well, Lily one day goes into her grandmother's room. No, she went into Dahlia's room for something. And Dahlia, in her closet, her grandmother had placed an old steamer trunk in the closet, and that trunk had two boxes. One box was a little bit smaller than the other box, so Lily decided to look and see what was in there, and most of that was just like books that Lily had read, things her grandmother had made for like little keepsakes of different things. And so she was like, so she went on about her business that day. But then somebody at school asked her a day or so later, have you heard anything about who is in the running for the contest, and Lily, she hadn't heard anything, and she asked Dahlia, and Dahlia hadn't heard of anything. So once again, she goes back up to the trunk and she decides to open the other box. Well, she pulls out, some of Dahlia's old clothes that was folded up, I guess, like for a giveaway. And she keeps going. She hits something hard. She's like, wonder what this is. She pulls it out. And it's an expensive camera and some expensive lenses. And she was like, So I was right. Cal and Dahlia are in a relationship. And boy, she blew up. She let Dahlia have it with both barrels. Even though she knew that she could not be in a relationship with him because he was more than twice her age. She said she just could not accept that she would cheat on her uncle like that. And Dahlia flat out denied cheating on her uncle. Oh, she hated it. So, Dahlia denied it over and over and over again. They fell out. Lily was so hurt by what she perceived as her aunt's betrayal that when she graduated high school, she left. When she left, she really had no intentions of coming back. So that's why she ended up in Philadelphia after she finished college. Now, when she left, Dahlia and Martin were both still living, but 18 years later, they had passed away too. And but when she met and married her husband, well, she said they dated for 2 years before she even bothered to tell him why she wouldn't go back home, go for a visit or anything. Her husband, he just had to respect whatever her wish was, so he didn't push her on it. But then after her husband passed away, and then Dahlia and Martin passed away, she got a phone call from the family lawyer, which happened to be Lily's high school classmate. So he tells her, everything is yours. Everything. The secret was, because Lily knew that she would get something. Her parents had left her something. But the secret part was when the grandparents died, everything went to their son, but in the event of his death, because Martin wasn't in the best of health anyway. So when he passed, everything would just be left to Lily. So she goes back, but when she goes back home, she goes with the intention of selling the farm outright. Her husband had passed away. She was in debt up to her eyelashes, and she needed to go ahead and go to work. And she was like, in a way, she really didn't want to sell the farm. It was where she grew up. Some of her best memories and all of her childhood was there. But at the same time, hold on. Yeah, so like I was trying to say, Lily, because of the way she left the farm, she left very angry at Dahlia, but she never told her uncle why she left. Aiden left before she did. And so, although Dahlia and Lily did eventually patch the relationship up, it was never what it was before the betrayal. Now, when Lily was in the 12th grade, the farm, some acres of the farm caught fire. And a lot of people were just straight up envious of Dahlia because of her beauty. They felt like, she was just after their money, the Lindgren's money anyway. And then, how in the world did old frumpy Martin with his bad health or poor health, how in the world did he manage to snag someone as beautiful and as gorgeous as Dahlia? And so a lot of people felt like Dahlia set the farm on fire. She didn't, Lily didn't. But she knew to argue with people would be moot because everybody had their minds made up, even her so-called best friends. Well, all right, we know she had the suspicion that something was going on between Dahlia and Kyle. Well, Aiden didn't do something that his girlfriend Olivia wanted him to do, so she was mad. So she composed a letter that made it sound like Dahlia and Kyle really were in a relationship. And she placed it so that Lily had no choice but to see it. And so that just fueled her anger against Dahlia and all of that stuff. Okay, now I forgot to say this a while ago when she found the camera equipment and she confronted Dahlia about it. Dahlia kept saying, well, yes, but it's not what you think. It's not as you think it is. And so finally Lily said, okay, there may not be anything between you and Kyle, but let me look at the footage that's on the camera. And Dahlia refused to do it. She said, I just cannot let you do that. I can't let you do that, Lily. And so when Dahlia kept refusing to let Lily see, what she was doing was confirming Lily's suspicions. And so when Dahlia passed away at age 57, they don't know why she died at such a relatively young age. But when she got the call from the lawyer to come back to settle the affairs at the farm, she's there, she's running into people that she knew, but they were kind of stiff, especially her best friend Katie. Well, they finally have a heart-to-heart talk one day, and Katie told her that she was very upset. She had no idea growing up that Lily would become estranged to her. She left Massachusetts and didn't look back, and whenever Katie would reach out by letter or phone call, Lily would respond, but it would be empty. Hi, Katie, I got your card or I got your letter. I'm glad everything's okay or going well. She didn't really talk, and then people would see Dahlia in passing, and they would always ask about Lily, and all Dahlia could do would be, well, if she's heard from her, she'll say, I got a letter from her the other day, or she called, or I hadn't heard from her in a while. But that was about all, because I don't think anybody in town outside of that house knew why she and Dahlia, were no longer speaking. They just didn't. I don't even know that anybody knew they weren't speaking at all, let alone why they weren't speaking. So this goes on. Eventually, she runs into Kyle. He's coming back to town to visit. Now, he's even older. And he's married, and so they go to talking. He tells her, because eventually she tells him that she always suspected that he and Dahlia had something going on. He was like, no way, no way, no way. He said, now, she never, ever wanted to. She loved you so much that she just could not bring herself to tell you, but she's no longer here, and I don't think she would mind me telling you. There was never anything inappropriate between myself and Dahlia. What happened was that equipment you found in there, he said Aiden stole it from me. And I had just landed a gig to do this massive photo shoot. And I took money, my last money, my last money and got this equipment because I figured, I'll make it back and then some. But Aiden saw it and he stole it. And so I told Dahlia that either she was going to have to reimburse me for that equipment or I was going to have to press charges against Aiden. He said I was flat broke, and I certainly did not want to make that threat. But, what more could I do? My back was against the wall. And so she did not want Martin to know that she was sleeping around paying for stuff with regard to Aiden. And so they hashed that out, and he said she loved you so much that she would rather die, which is what she did, without ever telling you the truth. Okay, so they go on, they make their peace, they go on their way. So she runs into Olivia, and Olivia tells her that she and Aiden had broken up years ago. And she said, I have a confession to make. And that's when she tells Lily that she wrote that note and put it so that she would find it because she wanted you to hate Dahlia because Aiden wouldn't, either he wouldn't do it or, well, the way he make it sound, that's what it was, he just wouldn't do it. So they kind of broke up after that. All right, but then that Lily finds out in this one visit. Okay, the barn was big. It had expanded in the 18 years since Lily had last seen it. There was this one man, Jake, who actually ran the farm. He didn't own it or anything, but the only thing that they specified in the will was to make sure to offer Jake a chance to buy the farm if it was something he felt like he wanted or could afford. And if he didn't want or could afford the farm, always keep him as the main employee there. Well, when she goes back to visit, they meet, they disagree, they have their differences, but eventually they realize that they have fallen in love with each other. She gets her son from, she gets her brother-in-law, his wife, to meet her on the Maine and Massachusetts line with her son. He comes, it's supposed to have been for like 3 or 4 days, but they had car trouble and it was taking them a while to get the car fixed. And her son, Ryan, just fell in love with, he just fell in love with the farm. He just could not, if it was up to him, they would have slept outside every night. They were there. He loved it so much that he ended up breaking his foot because he was angry when his mom told him close to the 4th of July. She was like, well, when I sell the farm, we'll go back to Philadelphia. I have got to go to work. I've got to start, making a way for us. He was like, why didn't I ever know this is where you lived? And did Dad ever come here? And blah, blah, blah. He just loved it. He didn't want to go home. And she said, but okay, we'll stay here unless I get the job. And if they say I got the job and they need me there on the 1st or 2nd, we'll have to go. He said, you're the meanest, most stuck-upest person I know. I'm like, wow, stuck-upest? But he storms out of the house. He was upset. She goes behind him to see him fall. He didn't mean to fall over into the ocean. He was skimming some rocks and ended up falling. So Jake, you know how this goes in these books. They somehow magically appear when you need them. They get him out and get him to the hospital. He broke his ankle. His ankle hurt his wrist too, but his ankle was why they couldn't leave, even if she got the job. And she did get the job. But it's then that she decides that in the heart of hearts, she just really did not want to sell the farm. she could have cleared all of her debt and had some money left over. But she could not, so that's why she was trying to sell it. But she fell in love with Jake, and she ended up staying there. They had a big welcome home celebration, and Ryan just fell right in there with Jake's nephew, Connor. Everybody just welcomed him, so we tied it up. It ended up all is well that ends well. She's back on the farm now. I don't know. This is book 4 in the series. I will eventually get around to it, but the next book I read will be book 1. I don't know if I'll reread this book. I'll just reload this video again when I get to book 4. But now I'm going to end this video so that I can get it up. And then I also want to get Greed's video up. It's been sitting here for a while. So, everybody, please, visitors, thanks for visiting the channel. Subscribers, thank you for being subscribed. And then in the meantime, book connectors, remember this: as long as there are books around, there is always something to read. And until we read again, book connectors, be safe out there. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and God bless.